You're listening to Salford City Radio, 94.4 FM, with your host, Jimmy Petruzzi, on the Friday Sports Show. And today we have a special guest who's joining us, whose role is Head of Partnership Development for England Netball. And I'm sure she'll give us a really interesting insight in terms of how things are going on in terms of the growth of netball. If you recall, a few weeks ago we had Katie Thompson on the show, who sort of gave us an idea of the performance aspects of netball and how they're trying to grow netball as a sport and keep the momentum going after some great results for the England team. Today, Emily's going to give us a bit of an idea how things are progressing and her vision for the game itself. So, Emily, thanks for joining us on the show. It's great to have you on board.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
No, it's fantastic. And netball, we've seen an increase in performances by the England team over the last few years. No doubt that's not through coincidence. There's a lot of hard work with people like yourself who've taken the role to increase the awareness and participation. Tell us a bit about what you do, Emily. The listeners get a bit of an insight in terms of what you do in your role for England Netball.
Well, my role for England Netball is heading up this super passionate, energised workforce of coaches and development officers who work to support our clubs and our coaches and run participation programmes across the country. So that's our programmes like Walking Netball and Back to Netball that aim to bring women back into the sport and hopefully enrich their lives through a really, really cool sport.
Absolutely. And what's the vision, Emily? What's the sort of vision of England Netball? Obviously, you know, you can sort of speak in terms of your role, but as a general overview, what's the actual vision? I mean, I can see you guys are incorporating like Walking Netball and many other things. Is it aiming to increase participation at grassroots level? Is it to increase the performance at senior level? What's the sort of vision?
So in relation to the participation and performance side, as a governing body, we've always seen that both are incredibly important and go hand in hand. So I don't know if you've seen, but lots of kind of bodies and people have always said, you know, that great performance doesn't necessarily result in increases in participation. We've seen the opposite to that. So we absolutely believe that when our England team performs and puts on a great show, you know, gets results, gets people interested, puts great role models out there, we absolutely have seen participation increase, you know, visibility increase, and us get, you know, really major benefits from that. So over the last few years, we've had a real focus on supporting our performance programme and, you know, our England team to do an amazing job on the world stage alongside, you know, trying to grow that profile with them, whilst then using that to really impact the participation piece.
Yes. One thing that strikes me about you, Emily, is your enthusiasm for netball. You seem to be really enthusiastic about moving it forward. I think that your attitude is infectious in the sense that you can see that you really want to drive netball to be all it can be. And is that because you have a passion for netball yourself in terms of participating and coaching, or where does that come from for you? I mean, it's evident that obviously, you know, you really care and it means a lot to you. And I think that's really important that people who obviously in roles like yourself have that. Where does your sort of drive come from, Emily? I'm sort of curious to know. I'm sure the listeners will be curious to know what drives you. Your passion for the sport.
Sure. Well, the first thing I'll say is I feel incredibly privileged to work in an organisation where there's lots of people like me that love talking about netball, you know, believe that this sport truly enriches lives and can do amazing things. So I'm one of many, but hopefully you could have a great chat in this way. But for me personally, you know, I've played this sport since primary school. I've played club netball since I was at secondary school, and I guess for me, I play every single week, and I can have the absolute most craziest week, most intense week of my life, and then I step on court, and I'm sure, like many other people experience, you know, all of the kind of the craziness on the week goes away. I get to be with amazing women. I get to kind of run around, forget any worries, and just have a great giggle and, you know, enjoy the sport. And I guess that's that's what lots of people fall in love with, the fact that you're interacting with brilliant people. It's a team sport, you're working together, you're having a giggle, you're so focused on sprinting around that court and thinking about the ball that you kind of forget about everything else. So I've played very regularly, absolutely love it, and think it's a sport that just gives so many benefits for so many reasons. So definitely a fan.
Yeah, no, it really strikes me that it can be, from a social perspective, life-changing for some people, in the sense that just getting out there and socialising, and things like walking netball, it increases the accessibility to people, obviously, who may struggle physiologically with the actual demands of high-intensity performances. Not that, obviously, I'm sure walking can be high-intensity too, but it certainly increases participation. And is that one thing that you got one eye on, England Netball, to really increase the participation as well? I mean, what do you guys do in terms of increasing participation? What are some of the things that you do? Because there may be listeners listening in thinking, well, they might be able to get involved on some level to do and work on increasing participation. But what are some things that you do in terms of network from that point of view, Emily?
Well, we work with lots and lots of different organisations. So we work with organisations such as the Women's Institute. It's an amazing partner we work with. We work with lots of kind of local community groups, local authorities, all sorts of organisations that have an interest in what we do. So, for example, working with an organisation like the Women's Institute has been amazing, because we've reached this whole new group of women, and we've been able to take netball to them and get them playing walking netball and enjoying what's a great sport with loads of benefits. So we're always keen to hear from organisations and people that would love to run programmes with us, and hopefully reach more people and kind of extend the sport to many.
That's really interesting. And in terms of coach education, I think one thing that's sort of paramount in any sport is developing coaches. I think it's really important in any sport to have coaches who've got qualifications and study as well. And is that something that you sort of you're involved in, not necessarily delivering but organising, and is that important to England Netball in terms of getting coaches on board? Because the more coaches you have, no doubt, it's going to raise the standard of play, but also ensure that play is done in the best possible way. And what's happening in the way of getting coaches on board, Emily? Is that something that you sort of you're aware of, or you have?
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's a really interesting one, because a lot of the time when we ask women in our programs and women kind of what makes programs great and what they want from the sport, actually coaches comes up quite a lot. So a great coach can turn a session from an average session to an awesome session, and a lot of women, particularly those coming back into the sport, they really appreciate having somebody to kind of gently show them the basic skills and encourage them and kind of help them find their feet again. So coaches are incredibly important at grassroots level, as well as obviously at the performance level. And I guess we have various programs and opportunities, such as the more traditional qualifications, as well as things like with walking netball we run host training, which isn't necessarily about all the kind of the technical side of coaching, but is more about how you provide an amazing, welcoming, really kind of enjoyable, tailored session for our walking netballers. So there's numerous courses and opportunities we provide, but you're right, it's really important and a real focus for us to develop that great workforce to hopefully motivate and bring more people into the sport.
Absolutely. And sort of thinking back now, Emily, to the likes of, say, Tracy Neville, who I think, at least in my opinion, sort of raised the profile to a certain extent of the sport. Now, how important is it, do you think, that players... Now, England's enjoyed success over the last few years in terms of, from a national point of view. How important is it for players, past and present, who are at the very top level, to be an advocate for the game and basically bang the drum for the game, really, and bring awareness for the game?
Well, I guess at that top level, you know, it is so competitive at the top. Everything, absolutely everything has to come together now. And, you know, you can't just have great players and, you know, and coaches that don't really do it. You have to have the most amazing coaching team who are incredibly skilled and committed. And, you know, I know that our coaching team, they spend in advance of the Commonwealth and the World Cup, they spend hours and hours and hours watching, you know, all these videos of every single competitor, you know, and working out the best tactics against each player, each team, all this kind of thing. We are so lucky that we have great coaches, and that combined with great players is, you know, and a great support team behind them is what helps get success. I mean, Tracy, as you say, amazing role model, made history with the Roses. We've been incredibly lucky to have those coaches with that real level of commitment who really kind of went above and beyond to support the players and work with those around them to make that, you know, to make that gold medal happen and to continue to get us some really great results.
Absolutely. And one thing that sort of I'd be interested to know, I'm sure the listeners would be interested to know, is that, like, for example, say in Australia, for example, Emily, some of the sporting teams, when they sort of achieve success, they'll sort of do appearances, and some of the athletes from the teams will do appearances, perhaps in maybe schools, or may go to like a signing event and interact with young people or people of any age, really, just to sort of increase awareness. Is that something that you guys are doing or looking to do? Perhaps maybe getting some of the performers to interact with maybe some of the fans and the up and coming future netballers, maybe going to schools as well. Is that something that goes on over here, or just a sort of?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to share a few stories, we're so lucky with our Roses, our England players, in that they are just the most wonderful young women, and they really, really appreciate the support of the fans. So we do see them, you know, making a real effort as much as they can to do some of those visits. And so I remember, you know, I was watching a test series last year, and it was a quad series, and I was there 40 minutes after the game ended, and our England Roses were still walking around the arenas, still doing, you know, autographed photos. You know, when you watch some sports, and at the end of, say, you know, a tennis match, you know, the guys have, you know, a few minutes to sign autographs, and they have to, you know, go do media commitments and do their recovery. I remember just sitting there 40 minutes after the game kind of finished and thinking, like, what a great commitment and effort to the fans, as a thank you for the amazing appreciation and commitments the fans give back to us. So we're really lucky. The girls do really do their best, and Tracy also has been amazing at trying to do as many appearances as it was possible.
No, absolutely. I think it's, you know, really important to inspire a generation, especially off the back of success. And I think that everyone, I guess, in one sense, is looking for a pathway to be the best they can be. Is there? I know your role is from the networking point of view, but are you aware of a pathway? Is there anyone that sort of deals with a pathway to excellence for, say, a future netballer to sort of go all the way to the very top, or is that something sort of beyond your awareness? Just in terms of our listeners wondering, if they were to take up netball, how far they could go in terms of, is there a pathway in place to go to the top or fulfil their potential? Is that something that they work on?
Yes. So in netball, the starting point for any girl that loves the sport and wants to be the best they can be is to get into a good local club. So playing school is brilliant, but getting that extra on-court time in a local club and being able to play regular matches with a local club will help get those girls, en route. We then have what we call county academies, the satellite academies, which are additional training for the kind of under 13 and under 15 age group that gets those girls, the talented girls, the additional training they need. And then there's various programs working up through our Super League clubs, where our Super League club runs junior talent programs to help develop the girls, which feed into the England program. So there's a pathway there. But my first piece of advice would be get into a good club, get enjoying netball, get playing matches, and start to develop skills that way.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And so our listeners wondering, and that might be something that you can perhaps give some details that they can get in touch in terms of finding a club near them. Now, this is a sporting city here, Salford area, in and around the area. We're quite fortunate to have so many big sporting establishments, and there's a lot of competition too in terms of sport. Now, one thing for me, Emily, and I'm wondering what your take is, and this is sort of question I've put to various sporting bodies, and one of the things I think is that more could be done. Now, I don't know a great deal about what you guys do, but this would be interesting to know. But I think a lot of sporting bodies, more can be done to take the sport to like urbanised areas. I really do, and that's just the way it is. And in some sports, it's sort of changing things. But what's your take on taking the game to urbanised areas where there might be social and economic deprivation, where this could be an outlet in terms of for the players to just play and from a social perspective, interactivity's got big social implications for. Now, is that something you guys are consciously looking to do or are doing, take the game wide and far throughout the country in various areas?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have a dream around wanting every woman and girl to be able to experience the magic that is netball and the benefits around that. And, wherever you come from, whoever you are, we want you to be able to access our game. So, yes, absolutely. We do work in all kind of wards across the country. Sometimes it's tougher to get in certain wards than others, but it's sometimes because of facilities and availability of coaches. But we have a number of projects where we've been trying to kind of go into some of the areas where we haven't had netball before and trying to extend those opportunities.
Are there professional opportunities, Emily, to play? How's the game developing from that point of view? Is there a pathway to become a professional at the moment, or is that something that's is still developing? Is that something you're aware of, or?
Yeah, so at the top end of the game, we England Netball we have a centralised funded programme for athletes. So our full-time England Roses athletes are funded to train and play full-time. It's not a massive salary, but it's funding that enables them to do that. We also have players that play in the Australia and New Zealand leagues, which are fully professionalised leagues, and they earn a reasonable salary for going and playing in those leagues. So at the top level, this is real change. Quite a few years, 5-10 years ago in England, this was not the case. Women could not play and be paid to play. Yes. But over the last few years, we've managed to fund the centralised programme in England, and the kind of opportunities abroad have increased for our players, which has been amazing. And actually, that is one of the step changes in terms of when our performance really increased. It was because we had these players, some that were playing in Australia and New Zealand, and got to play against some of the other best players in the world week on week, and were full-time playing and training. And then over here, we had a group of players in our centralised programme. So rather than, our whole England squad, bless them, trying to balance a full-time job with training, with competing, we suddenly had this big group of players who full-time were focused on netball. And that was one of the absolute game changers that helped us really shift our performance of the gear.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the messages, I think, for our listeners there is that makes the achievements even more remarkable in terms of the England netball, competing against the likes of Australia and New Zealand, that, arguably the league from a development point of view is maybe not now, but certainly at that point, in infrastructure, might have been a little bit, more developed in one sense, but it makes the sort of achievements really remarkable to think that here were athletes who had jobs and so on and so forth competing at the highest level. Now, giving them like centralised contracts can make a huge difference. And one thing I sort of really bang the drum for is funding, because sport in Great Britain, in England, it's really an important part of the country, and people really enjoy participating, and funding is really important. I guess the only thing with funding, Emily, would be Olympics, in terms of Olympic sports perhaps might take, I don't know, some sort of priority. But is there a time you think that, obviously you've got the World Championships, you've got the Commonwealth Games. Do you see a possibility at some point? I mean, this might go beyond your remit. I might need to ask this question to, but could it be an Olympic sport sometime, netball, do you think?
Oh, Jimmy, that's the question. I guess that's a tough one to answer. The reason we're not an Olympic sport is because of the number of countries that compete in netball on a world stage.
Yes.
So that is one of the major reasons. So by having the majority of the countries and a high number of countries competing at your sport on a world stage, that increases your kind of chances of becoming an Olympic sport. Could we get into the Olympics? I think there's a lot of people that would love to see us there. Does it massively prevent us? We are, I think because we're a Commonwealth sport and we get such amazing profiles through the Commonwealth, we've been getting amazing profiles through the World Cup. I don't think it's the be-all and end-all for us. I think we've been so lucky to get some amazing profile and support through other major world events.
Yes.
A lot of people love to see us in the Olympics. That one we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, and I mean it with every respect to every other sport in the Olympics. Athletes work really hard to be there, but I certainly think netball has a place there. And like you said, as being a Commonwealth sport, and obviously, the Commonwealth is still relatively, sizable, and taking the sport abroad to other countries too may increase the chances. But obviously, some of the sports in the Olympics, debatable in terms of, how many. That's another story for another day. But I take your point. I think that's a great thing that obviously you've gotten. Is it really important in terms of promoting the game, not just within England, but do you think that taking the sport abroad is an important thing too, or is there anything being done around that area? Maybe playing a game abroad, maybe staging a tournament in America or somewhere along those lines. Do you see future potential to do that at some points, Emily, or is that something that's sort of
So the International Netball Federation and the European, we work more closely with the European Federation out of the different kind of regional ones. They're both doing work around developing countries and taking coaches and leaders out to some of these kind of developing countries and countries that are just starting to grow netball. So there absolutely is work to globally try and get more people playing netball and benefiting from the sport. So that may well help going forward. I guess the other thing to say, as you've mentioned, the Olympics is, it is obviously an incredible event and one that we may not be part of, but we still will absolutely be trying to, try and utilise some of the benefits. So when the whole country is talking about sport this summer, we will still be heavily promoting netball and trying to encourage everybody that is up for getting on court and getting active and trying something new to come to one of our netball sessions. So, even though we're not there, we'll definitely still be encouraging people who are inspired by the Olympics.
Absolutely, that's great stuff, and I think that it's a great sport and it's adaptable to walking netball and also from the point of view of the sport itself, it's from a participation point of view, it is accessible in terms of, but it is important that it keeps developing developing. And I suppose in one sense you've got the likes of the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham coming up as well. But prior to that, is there anything that we've got to look forward to? Our listeners, anything they can sort of go and see, any tournaments that they can put in the calendar and maybe go and watch some of these great athletes perform at the highest level?
Yeah, so there'll be lots of opportunities in advance of the Commonwealth 2022, which we're super excited about. It's going to be amazing to have another big world event on home turf. So I guess in advance of the Commonwealth, this week alone, we've got an international going on. So we've got what we call our Nations Cup, where we've got England, New Zealand, South Africa, and Jamaica all in England this week. Mm-hmm. So we've got a game Wednesday night, we've got games Saturday and Sunday, and those countries all playing each other with the top two teams playing off on Sunday and the third, fourth team playing off on Sunday. So those matches can be seen. We're streaming on YouTube, they're on Sky Sports Mix. So yeah, if people would like to watch, we've got a few tickets left for Birmingham tomorrow, but unfortunately the weekend's sold out. But wow. So yeah, there's opportunities to really exciting. So over 21,000 tickets sold and counting. So really, really great to have so much support this week.
That's great stuff. So, absolutely, that sort of shows the public, the English public, and they really get behind the teams. And I think it's really important to sort of keep the momentum going. That's for sure. And so people can. There are tickets still available. Did you say, Emily, to go watch?
Yeah.
I mean, how can people sort of like?
We've got a few tickets available for Birmingham, which is tomorrow evening. Otherwise, people can watch it on TV or on YouTube. So,
yes.
That's this week. And I guess, talking about the kind of the growing audiences, last summer, July 2019, we sold more tickets for the Netball World Cup in England than any other World Cup. The kind of the support we got, I guess in terms of playing, we had a survey that showed 160,000 Brits started playing netball or started playing more netball.
Wow.
So that just kind of gives you a feel, there is this real, it's just incredible. There's this real support and this real movement in support coming for the sport at the moment. So yeah, we're incredibly grateful for everyone's support, and take a look at Nations Cup. There'll be more internationals later on in the year, so we'll try and keep providing some great play for the
later in the year. Emily, is there anything that you sort of we can earmark in terms of putting the notebook for later in the year? Can you think of anything sort of any sort of tournaments or anything sort of? What about sort of domestically? I mean, is there opportunities for people to go watch domestic competitions as well, or?
Yeah, so it's probably worth saying our Super League, so the top 10 teams in England, that league kicks off in February. So if people would like to kind of catch some regular high quality netball, our Super League will be regularly on TV. We've got the season opener is in Birmingham on the 22nd of February, where all the Super League teams will be playing the first matches of the season. So there's absolutely going to be some really great regular competition, as well as soon we'll announce some internationals for later on in the year.
Oh, that's fantastic. And is there a website people can go to sort of see and check and look to get tickets and get involved? Do you have a website at hand that the listeners can sort of...
We do. We would love you all to go and have a look at www.englandnetball.co.uk. Mm-hmm. On that site, people can find details of kind of tickets for major events and competitions, and also if anybody wants to try one of our walking netball, back to netball sessions, there's a session finder. So you can Google England Netball Session Finder or England Netball Nations Cup, and all of the information will come up.
Fantastic, and they can just get on the website and all the details will be on there in terms of from a point of view of watching the game, but getting involved too as well. And in terms of say volunteers and coaching, is that also the same website too, the England Netball website as well, or is that something? Is that on the same website?
Yeah. Absolutely, Jimmy. all on the England Netball website.
Definitely. So the England Netball website for people who are listening and want to get involved in some capacity. It's been a fascinating interview, Emily. It really has, and really has. I'm sure the listeners have sort of got more of an awareness in terms of how much has increased netball from a participation point of view, but also the accessibility. The walking netball and to be able to watch the Super League and also international tournaments too. I'm sure with people like yourself at the helm and doing your job, it'll continue to grow and keep going. And obviously you got great people around you, which is fantastic. It's really, really positive stuff. So thank you, Emily, for coming on board the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you. No doubt we'll have you back on again at some point, telling us more about what's developments are going on and keep us updated on any tournaments or anything that comes up in terms of participation or anything you'd like to sort of share with our listeners.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your support. It's always really wonderful to get to come and talk about the sport I love. So thank you for having me.